Greetings, Holders Hoodoo family. I hope this video finds you doing well. With each video I do, I always say that I hope you're growing strong on your hoodoo journey, but I want you to know that I really mean that. Every time you watch a new video on this channel, I hope that you are stronger, that you are wiser, and have been practicing, because that's the only way that you can become skilled at doing hoodoo. You have to do it. So today, family, I want to talk about a couple of things. I didn't have one specific topic in mind. So just want to talk to you about a few random hoodoo things. We've got the spring equinox coming up in a few days, but I also want to talk about give you the backstory, the contradictions behind the color red in hoodoo. And while we're at it, let's talk about the original color for wealth that our ancestors used during early hoodoo. But first, a very quick update. The 2024 Hoodoo Almanac is in stock and ready to ship. You can order your copy at my website. Also, the Root Work for Home book is available and my Soulful Divination book. So go to my website, check these books out. Hopefully, they will be of interest and of help to you. So, the spring equinox is coming up this Tuesday, March 19th. Now, that's going to happen that night around 11 p.m. And yes, this happens every year since the beginning of time. It is a very sacred time for Earth. 2 times a year, the Earth tilts in a perfect alignment with the sun, not leaning too far near the sun, and the Earth isn't leaning too far away from the sun. So it's in this perfect spot. And that causes this balance, this perfect balance between night and day. And we only see this during the spring and autumn equinox. But this year's spring equinox is special, even more sacred than usual. Now, you've heard me say before this um, that this is the year of ancestral power, more than we've ever seen. The ancestors are not pleased with what is happening to our people, and they're not pleased with what we're doing to one another or to ourselves either. So, this year, there is a rush of power coming from the spiritual realm this year. Spring equinox marks the beginning of the natural new year. Whatever you want to start, now is the time to start it. Whatever you need in your life, now is the time to start working towards it. Builders of nations is in your blood. Whatever you need, you can obtain it. You really need to believe this. So on the night of March 19th, I will go into a special sacred prayer ceremony. And on the sunrise of March 20th, I will conclude this ceremony during the first rising sun of the natural new year. So many of you have already sent me your names so that I can include you in my prayers. If you would like to be included, go to my website, go to the homepage, and you'll see where you can submit your name. But please read and follow the instructions. Some of the ceremony will be recorded, and I'll send out a link of the video to those of you who requested to be included in the prayer. I'm only going to share it with those who requested to be a part of it. Now let's talk about the contradictions with the color red. Now you've probably already noticed when it comes to colors in hoodoo, there's about 100 different interpretations, meanings, depending on who you talk to. Some are traditional, while others are just a mix of New Age and other cultural interpretations and influences. And really, there is no right or wrong, but in my opinion, my preference, I like to stick to the meanings provided by our ancestors. And even amongst our ancestors, there were some differences. I think you're going to be surprised at how the meanings have changed over time when it comes to colors in hoodoo. And I want to talk to you about two of these in particular. Red is the most contradictory color in hoodoo. Today, people use it for strength, they use it for power, they even use it for love. You've seen the red figurine candles, the man and the woman, the love candles. These are commercial products. I don't use commercialized products in my hoodoo practice, but I know many of you do. So, just using that as an example. But when our ancestors were captured in Africa, there are accounts from some of our enslaved ancestors how red was used to capture them. The enslavers would lay a trail of red pieces of cloth, and the Africans would follow it. Groups of them would follow that cloth, picking up the pieces. Each piece would get larger than the one before it, and they would have the final large pieces of cloth on the ship, the slave ship, and they would catch them. And that's one way that they would capture groups of Africans for slavery. Some of our ancestors despised the color red when they got over here to America. But red is also symbolic, one of the colors of Shango, the Orisha god of fire. But here in America, red also came to symbolize violence because of the brutal killings, the hangings, and whippings of our ancestors during and after slavery. And as you probably are aware, red flannel is one of the favored cloths for making mojo bags. So it's safe to say for a traditional hoodoo, we use red for power in traditional hoodoo, but it's totally up to you how you decide to use it. But I just wanted to give you this backstory so you understood how red means or meant to some of our ancestors. Now, when we think about wealth and money, today we look at green because it's the color of our money, our dollars. But in early hoodoo, it wasn't green, it was indigo. And I'm talking about during the colonial period when hoodoo was being birthed. Did you know that at one time in America, indigo production was more profitable than cotton and corn? And you had to have a lot of money to buy anything of this color. But our ancestors, they slaved, they toiled in horrible conditions to dye the fabrics this color. In some of the old slave narratives, some of our ancestors talked about the cursed labor of making indigo, backbreaking work. They had to build and manage the full production from picking the plant to making the dye, from taking the dye and creating the dyed cloth, the fabrics. And the southern colonies, Georgia, the Carolinas, Florida, all of these profited from the increased demand from Britain for indigo clothing and items. Anyone who wore this color was considered wealthy. Indigo symbolized wealth. After independence, the indigo industry tanked as Britain turned to India for indigo production. Many plantation families became wealthy off of the free labor, sweat, and backs of our ancestors. But I just want you to know that during the early days and formation of hoodoo, it wasn't green that represented wealth, it was indigo. It's also interesting to note that during that time, green was symbolic of health, healing, growth. good well being in all aspects of life. And this is reflective of nature's abundance in spring and summer that our ancestors observed and celebrated. There is so much more to hoodoo. It's not just magic, it's not just spells. It is a sacred spiritual system, religion for many of us, that is founded on nature and African principles. If all you are learning is spells, you're not learning authentic hoodoo of our ancestors. Hoodoo in its purest form was before emancipation. This is what I call traditional hoodoo. After slavery is when the marketeers started taking over and we had a influx of manufactured and commercialized hoodoo products. I don't consider that tradition because it did not come from our ancestors. These products were not made by our people. Well, family, it's been a pleasure to visit with you again on something that I am deeply passionate about. I really do appreciate your support of this channel and my work. So I'll see you in the next video, but until then, family, keep building good and positive things in your life. Build your relationship with your ancestors because that is the foundation of hoodoo. Step number one, before you do anything in hoodoo, you must build a relationship with your ancestors. So, family, it's been a pleasure. Be that light for yourself and our people. Thank you.